Good morning, everyone. My name is Maddie Braz. I'm the AmeriCorps Vista, serving in the Women's and Gender Center, and I want to welcome you all to this great event. Thank you for coming out this morning. Clap, clap, clap. I'm going to read from my phone because I don't want to forget all of our sponsors today, so please excuse the iPhone. We are honored to welcome Mam-Yassin Sarr to campus today. And Mam-Yassin Sarr is the co-founder of Starfish International, an organization in the Gambia focused on promoting the education and advancement of girls and young women. This event is brought to you today by the Women's and Gender Center, Core Division, Education and Human Studies Division, Office of Diversity and Inclusion, the Provost's Office, Champlain College Psychology Program, Student Government Association, members of EHS representatives, Student Diversity Programming, Stiller Women in Business, and International Student Services. I know there were some last-minute sponsors, so thank you if I missed your name or your office on there. And thank you. Thank you for making this event happen today. A lot of our students are really excited to have our speaker here, and it means a lot, so thank you all. I'm going to get off the stage and hand it over to one of our wonderful students. Absa Samba is a second-year social work student who will give us some more information about our event today. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So I stand here today as the EHS representative in the Student Government Association. I've worked with Catherine Young, who is the student representative for EHS as well, and other sponsors and the Women's and Gender Center to bring this event to campus today. So to start, I quote, "One of the best, fastest, and most cost-efficient ways to make the world a better place for everyone is to solve the problems that we face today. And that is by educating girls." These are the genuine statements of the speaker today, Mam-Yassin Sarr, the director of Starfish International. In 2016, while I was still in the Gambia, I was tasked by my mentor to be involved with Starfish International, and soon after, unfortunately, I left for the US. Today, 2 years later, I'm happy to be standing here to introduce Mam-Yassin and to listen to her speak. And over the years while I was in the Gambia, I've interacted and worked with so many girls who have been beneficiaries of the work Starfish International is doing in the Gambia. Mam-Yassin also worked actively on issues ranging from HIV education, female genital mutilation, environmental health, family planning, refugee education and support, multicultural education, mediation and conflict resolution, interfaith cooperation, youth advocacy, and service learning. It is my honor to introduce to you Mam-Yassin Sarr.
Good morning, everyone. It's my honor to be here. I'm a village girl. Years ago, I went back to the Gambia working with Starfish. And one of the girls in the program looked at me. I'm usually in flip-flops, a pair of jeans, a T-shirt, and running around the village. And she looked at me and she said, "Auntie Yassin, you look like a village girl. When people go to America and they come back to the Gambia, you know, they have the hairdo and the nice purse and the high heels and the car, and you went and got all that education and you came back and you're just running around the village like one of us." And I looked at her and I said, "I am one of you. I am a village girl, and you are my purses and my cars and all of that stuff. So this is not usual for me." But I went back to work in the village that I was born and grew up in. And so thank you for having me here to come and talk about my passion. You might feel very, very unlucky because I have so much to say about this. And I always say that everybody has a dream, but I have the bounty of people putting aside their dreams to hear me rave and rant about my dream. And I never take that for granted. The other unusual thing about me giving this talk is this idea that I'm the one standing here telling you about the Starfish girls. If you came to Starfish, I would probably be the last person you would see, because the girls completely own the program, and they would usually give you a tour of the program and tell you what's going on, and they would say, Auntie Yassin and Uncle David, they're just guides for the program. We run this thing. So I hope I do them justice, and I know if I don't, I'll hear about it. So let me enjoy the time here. But I have 2 videos that will just give you a sense of who the girls are. Because every time I stand in front of somebody, I always say, I have 100 girls standing behind me and 30 boys standing beside them. And so to give you a visual of that, I'll play a video. And then if the rest of the technology doesn't work, I'll just speak.
Hello, my name is Maria Madavo. I think development is progress. When someone develops, they change from one state to another, and it's key in every human's life. It can only be configured in our mind when we are ready to change and we are ready to progress and be the best of ourselves.
I think it's being able to look back at yourself and look at what you're doing now and how you want to contribute to the world to make it a better place. Not for just yourself, but for everybody else. So I think we should start thinking about how we want to make this world a better place, because each and every person is a citizen of the world, and it should be everybody's goal to make the world a better place, and I think that is development.
To be able to develop fully, one needs to first begin by changing their mindset, being open-minded, knowing that things happen, but then what you do about it is what matters most. So if you just sit there and say, this thing happened to me, so I'm just going to sit and wait for a miracle to come, it's not going to happen. So you have to take that step, know what you want, take the right stance, and be able to work towards getting that. If it's a change that you need to make, it's the same thing that you need. If you don't step up to do it, then that thing is still going to be there. It's going to be a problem and not going to be solved.
So I challenge everybody to start with self-development, and then we can grow from that.
So I gave them a challenge. I said, take 3 minutes to tell me what you feel development is, and that's what I got. And so 10 years ago, when I went back to the Gambia to start Starfish International, one of the things I wanted was for the girls that we work with to take such ownership of the program that they would be able to tell their own stories. And one of my dreams 10 years into it was that they would have a media house, and they would start producing photographs, and they would start producing videos that tell their own story. So this year we have finally registered, they have finally registered a media house, and they make these videos themselves. So if I need something for them to speak for themselves, I can just call Starfish and say, can you make a video about this? And since we all talk too much at Starfish, I challenged them for a 3-minute video and got that. So something is working. So I'm going to tell you about girls' education and my passion for girls' education, and use Starfish International as an example of what can succeed. But I want to start with our institutional goals at Starfish International. I want you to take a look at them and then tell me what you notice about them, if anything stands out to you. So this is what we want for our students. I won't give you too much time because we don't have too much time. Just a little bit of time. Okay. So these are our competencies. This is the last one. All right. Notice anything? Anybody? It's a trick question, so If it seems tricky, you're right. Yes.
I know it's very similar to some of the competencies we have at Champlain College, correct? I thought it was fascinating.
Yes, I was thinking somebody would say security, and then you would accuse me of plagiarism and get me out of here. So I'm just going to confess before that. These are the Champlain College competencies. And I brought it just because when you look at them, you can't possibly look at them and say, okay, that's what Gambian girls should not have that, or girls from Algeria should not have that, or anywhere else. And so I wanted to use it as an introduction to this. And this is one of my favorite diagrams when I talk about development, or when I talk about why people in one part of the world should be interested in people in another part of the world. So if you look at this, it's self-explanatory. People are struggling on one side, other people are saying, sure glad the whole isn't at our end. And any reasonable person would know that we're all going down unless we all do something about the problems that we face. And when it comes to girls' education, when it comes to opportunities for women, we're looking at half of the world. And so if you look at half of the world and you look at all the problems that we have in the world, and you think about all the problems that women go through and girls go through, and how little education, how little pay, and so on and so forth they have, and you look at the problems that the world is facing, it's pretty easy to see that unless we bring up half of humanity to help solve the problems, we're all going down. And so I'm not a very gentle speaker in those terms. I don't stand in front of people to say, please educate girls, it's a good idea. My message is pretty desperate and pretty simple. If you don't, we're all going down. So let's do this. Another way I try to explain it, we use a lot of diagrams. If you come to Starfish, we have a lot of murals, because we also realize we're part of an illiterate population. And we want the people to look at the pictures and the diagrams and know what we're trying to do and what we're trying to work for. But this quotation, the world of humanity has two wings. One is women and the other men. Not until both wings are fully developed can the bird fly. Should one wing remain weak, flight is impossible. It's one of my favorite quotations about gender equity and why we should work for it. And it's one that, it's very organic, and if I use it anywhere in the village that we use it in, it's very, very easy to deal head-on with that first idea that some people have that make them balk when we talk about gender equity and opportunities for women, which is, well, what about guys? Is this a fight? Are you a feminist? Do you hate guys? And so when we use this example to say, it is not a battle. We are in this together. If the family or the community or the nation or the world is that bird and it has two wings, one wing is males, one wing is females, if one wing is completely weak, this family, this nation, this world cannot prosper. It cannot soar as far or as high as it should. So unless we make that second wing as powerful as the first wing, we're all defeated. When we say that and when we use that example, it's very, very easy for families, for communities across the world to see that this is a job we should all be doing. Now, the population I'm most interested in are those people who have the least opportunities. And so the Starfish Pledge speaks to them, and all the girls have to understand this and be able to manifest it in their own lives. And it says, the Starfish Pledge says, I am not the product of my circumstances. I am a composite of all the things I believe and all the places I believe I can go. My past does not define me. I can step out of my history and create a new day for myself, even if the entire culture is saying you can't. Even if every single possible bad thing that can happen to me does, I can keep going forward. And so, so to contextualize that, when somebody says, I am not a product of my circumstances, I am a composite of all the things I believe and all the places I believe I can go, you look at this picture, and simply what I did was just type African children on Google, And that first picture came up. And so my thing always at Starfish is if you go to take a picture of children and they look like that, clean the children, wash the clothes, put it on them, and take a picture of them. It's really not that difficult. Until we start seeing every child as our own, every girl as our sister or our mother or our partner, it's not going to happen as effectively. And as Africans, as Gambians, as females, we have to be willing to start telling our own stories instead of just fighting for others to tell our stories and tell them the right way. So these pictures at the bottom were all taken by Starfish girls. And they are how we like to see ourselves and tell our own stories. So you see a girl reading or writing. You see the play that they had was about one girl being a doctor. And you see the kids playing, kids in school uniform playing. It's not that hard to have most of that. So what I did was I typed in African children, this came up. I typed in American children, and I couldn't find a single dirty, not welcome child. And I kept thinking, okay, well, all the communities were there dirty children, both rich and poor, right? And so, yes, we are not waiting at Starfish for people to change those images. We're changing them. So I'm going to tell you stories. If you haven't been able to tell by now, I am a storyteller. If you're bored by stories, I apologize. But we're just getting started, actually. And in these stories, the reason I want to tell you these stories is because they're real. Because I'm not standing here telling you about a dream. I had a dream when I was 8 years old. I've worked all my life to make that dream come true. And a lot of people have helped along the way. So as I stand here and I say we're telling our own stories and we're going to do this and we're going to do it together, it's not an idea. It's something that I see happening every day. And so this is ISATU. ISATU, I told you I wanted a program that had ownership from the girls. So every department at Starfish is run by a former Starfish girl. And so ISATU is the operations manager, and she's 22 years old. And when she says, I'm the operations manager at Starfish International, the first reaction is people laugh, and they go, do you really know what operations manager means? And she goes, yes, I do. And have you worked for Mam-Yassin before? So it's really, she's taken on the job. When we met ISATU, she was one of several daughters, maybe 6 girls in the family, and she was the youngest child. And her family hadn't put the girls in school. And finally, when her mom said she wanted ISATU to go to school, it didn't go over too well. And so the parents got a divorce. ISATU was still enrolled in school. And by the time she came into Starfish, she was living with a family just so she could have access to the local high school. And ISATU, because of her small business, she was able to provide everything from an alarm clock to the candles that she used to study. And now she's a third-year social work student at the University of the Gambia. So she went from running the risk of not graduating high school because she could not afford it to now being a third-year university student. This is Fatou Ndour. Fatou Ndour came into the program well before she was even a high school student. And when she came in, a year after she got into the program, her father lost his job. And all Starfish students are required to start their own small business. So you're going to school, you still have to have your own small business so you can help take care of yourself financially. Fatou not only took care of herself from her own small business, but she also provided all the grocery money for the family from her sophomore year in high school until she graduated high school. Some of the things that happened within the family was there was a shift in the family dynamics. So you went from the father being the most powerful person within the family to the father feeling threatened that now here's my daughter and she's providing for the expenses of the family. So what does that mean within the family dynamics? And so not only did she have to become independent financially and provide for herself, but she had to look at how that fits into her culture, how that fits into the family dynamic. A few months ago, actually almost a year ago, Fatou Ndour lost her father. And I was in the US when it happened. And when I called her to find out what was going on, she said to me, you know, as my dad was passing, the last conversation I had with him, he said to me, I'm sorry for the difficulties we've had in the family, but as I'm passing, I know that I don't have to worry about my family because you're here and you're educated and you can take care of them. And so you look at a girl like this who a few years ago, 6 years ago maybe, she was running the risk of not just not graduating from high school, but also just food and water and electricity and things like that, to now being a third-year architecture student at GTTI in the Gambia. So she now also runs the photography program because that was her small business when she was at Starfish. These two women, Fatuwai Jaite and our Cham. Fatuwai is the assistant director of the program. When she came into the program, one of the first things we had a conversation about was her birth certificate. She stormed into the office one day and she said to me, Auntie Yassin, I can't believe I don't have a birth certificate. You asked about birth certificates and I went home and they couldn't find my birth certificate. How could they not have registered me as a human being that exists? And I looked straight at her and I said, what are you going to do about it? We can talk about what your parents didn't do, or we can talk about what you're going to do about it. She said, I'm going to register myself as a human being that exists in this world, and she walked out of my office. Not only did she get a birth certificate, she walked back in several months later, having saved her money, and she said to me, not only do I have a birth certificate, I got myself a passport as well. So now she's running Starfish. She's the assistant director. She's a third-year development studies major at the University of the Gambia. Our is now the administrative assistant at Starfish International. And our sister was in the program, younger sister. She came to me one day and she said, my older sister is at home and she's not doing anything. And I am here at Starfish and I have all these educational opportunities. I want you to do something about it. I said, call your sister, let her come in, let's talk. 3 months later, her sister still hadn't shown up. So I said to her, Sira, where's your sister? She said, I keep telling her to come, but she's too intimidated. I said, okay. Gave her 1 more month, she didn't show up. I called Sira, I said, tell your sister that she doesn't want me to show up at her house. So if she wants me to come to her house, then she shouldn't come to Starfish. But if she doesn't come, I will be at your house tomorrow. The next day, our shows up. I put her in the office and I say, write me an essay, and I want you to tell me what is the most painful thing you have had to face as a girl, and why you think that would inform girls' education and the opportunities we provide. I come back in, and she had written this essay, and what she said in it essentially was the most painful thing that I have experienced is having a goal of getting an education and going all the way to my senior year of high school and having to drop out because my parents couldn't pay anymore. She said, but that wasn't the most painful thing in itself. The most painful part of that was sitting at home, not being able to graduate, and watching my family still suffer because I couldn't achieve my dreams. And I thought that's interesting, because instead of feeling sorry for herself, what was most painful for her was having a dream and knowing that there was more that was available out there and not being able to access it, not even because you want it for yourself, but because you want it for your family. So for her, it wasn't her suffering, it was watching her mom, her dad, her siblings suffer, and knowing that she wanted to do something about it and got so close and couldn't make it. So I said, okay, you have almost a high school education. You come here and you run the kindergarten program at Starfish, and we'll try to find you the funds to graduate high school. So now she's studying to take the exams, her final exams for high school. This is May. When we met May, I'm all about voice and I'm all about choices. And when we met May Koroma, she came to the Gambia. Her family came to the Gambia as refugees from Sierra Leone. She came into the program and she wouldn't pick up her head to speak. And I've always said to the girls, you cannot tell your stories if you cannot speak for yourself. And so I'd have May try to give a talk, give a speech, something, and she'd burst into tears. And I'd watch her and I'd say, okay, When you finish crying, then finish the talk. And so she would start again and just burst into tears. And we would be there. And there'd be 45, 50 girls sitting around just crying because she was crying. Nothing was wrong at Starfish. It was just May couldn't get through a speech. And now May runs our advocacy and health program. And she is actually a third-year School of Nursing student in the Gambia. And this is Jane. When we met Jane, she was selling water at the garage, at the car park. And Jane came into the program and decided that she was passionate about social justice issues, right? And the type of family Jane came out of was that her mom had epilepsy. And because she had epilepsy, and her tribe didn't really know about that, they took away all of the kids. And so Jane did not grow up with her mom. And out of the daughters, she was the only one that was educated. But getting that education meant living with foster families and really struggling. And part of what she did was also sell water at the car parks. A few years ago, Jane's mom passed away. And Jane was able to take care of everything, from getting the cement for the headstone, for the gravesite, to tracking down all of the paperwork of her mom's baptism as a Catholic, to taking care of the funeral services and giving the eulogy. And so as she stood there giving the eulogy, I was looking at her and the whole family and thinking, okay, this is a child that was actually removed from the family because of lack of education, because of simple information about what epilepsy is. An epileptic woman can take care of their child. But she missed all of that. But in missing all of that, just because somebody invested in her and gave her an education, she could actually come back and take care of all the funeral services and everything her family needed for her mom to be buried with dignity. And so Jane got a scholarship to do her final year in Syracuse, to go to high school in Syracuse. She finished that, and she had some options. Some of her relatives in France said, since you're all the way in the West, just come to France and go to school here. And Jane looked at me and she said, I have a visa, and if I don't honor the visa requirements, the next Starfish girl that wants to come will not get a visa from the American Embassy. So I'm going to go back to the Gambia and serve at Starfish. Jane is a third-year law student at the University of the Gambia. So I tell you these stories, and they sound like, oh my goodness, these wonderful Starfish girls. And for me, and for us at Starfish, the idea isn't that we give them the education as much as what will they do with this education. And I tell them all the time, and we tell them all the time, the reason you learn 1 + 1 is 2 is so you can be of service to humanity. That's the whole point. Research, everything else points to the fact that research on happiness, all of these things, that you have to be able to look outside yourself and beyond yourself. This is particularly critical for us in Africa. If we're going to change all the obstacles and problems that we face and we're going to be facing in the future, and if we're going to contribute truly how much we can contribute to world development, we have to be able to look beyond ourselves. We're not getting these degrees and these educational opportunities just so we can get the big house, the car, take care of our family, and take our family out of the dire situations they're in. We have to be able to look beyond that. And that is something that you don't just learn in school. That is a habit of the heart. And so our idea, our experiment at Starfish was, could you nurture human beings for whom service is just a part of who they are? And so when I'm asked, how do you do that? I say, you just make them do it until it becomes a habit. And so you get a $100 scholarship from Starfish, and you don't get it for free. You have to pay that scholarship back. You actually have to earn that scholarship. And you have to earn it by identifying 9 different times during the year problems within your environment that you can do something to solve. So it's not, I'll graduate college and then I'll go serve. I'll take a gap year and go serve. No. Right now, as you're struggling with your chores, with your exams, with everything else you're doing, during the year, there must be 9 different times during the year where you can actively do something to solve a problem within your community. So the service projects are just a part of Starfish. And some of my favorite parts of them is when we take the boys and we put them into the families and we say, do the chores that the girls do. So the families can see that the sky hasn't fallen. The boy did the laundry, and they swept, and they cooked, and they cleaned, and they still had their head on their shoulders, and everything was fine, right? And so a lot of the service projects that we do actually deal with the problems that we're facing within the community, right? So you see this girl with the powder around her neck. So this is when Starfish first started, and Fatuwai is now the assistant director whose picture I showed you, the one that did not have a birth certificate. And this was the first year. So 9 years ago today, I'm this bald woman that the Gambia hadn't seen in a while. I was 7 months pregnant. My mother-in-law had just gone into remission from breast cancer. And I had been scared out of my brain. I was thinking, if I had cancer, what would I regret not having done? And what I would have regretted not having done is gone back into my community and used the little education that I had to impact the community instead of waiting to get a PhD to go back home. So I went back home. I was 7 months pregnant with that boy sitting right there. And that girl sitting right there was 3 years old. And so I figured I can't be 7 months pregnant, have a 3-year-old that I'm carrying, and have to do my hair and everything else. So let's shave the hair off. So I went to the Gambia, bald and very small, and could have looked like a boy, but I was 7 months pregnant. So aha. When somebody saw me, and they were like, not the typical Gambian woman. It must be a boy. No, boys don't get pregnant. Okay, it's a girl. It's a very strange girl, but it's a girl. So that was me. I always had a towel on my shoulder mopping my brow because it was so hot in the Gambia. I had 100 girls around me in a circle, and my measuring stick was simple. Everything that I had learned in life so far, if I could translate it into the girls' lives to help them right now, then that's all I needed. The classroom, the resources, everything else should come and find me doing something. And so I had the 100 girls. I had my baby. Could sit on one of their laps, and David was there, of course, holding the baby. And then, I would walk around and teach them what I knew. And that's still the measuring stick for Starfish. If you're coming, no matter what your area of expertise is, if I give you the wet ground and a stick and said, teach them what you know, you should be able to do it. And that gets you to be a Starfish volunteer. But all of that is not possible without finances. And so it's not this kumbaya thing where we're like, we don't need resources, we'll just sit under the trees and have class. No. If we have under the trees, that's where we're going to start. And we're going to work upwards from that. But the girls have to learn to do their own small businesses so they can generate money now. And the reason they need to do that is because when they think about independence, without financial independence, it's not going to happen. But when they think about it, we need it to be real for them, not just something they think about. So when they say, I can take care of my children myself, therefore I don't want my daughter to be circumcised. And if that's going to happen, I will take my child, I will find an apartment, and I will educate them. They know that it's not a threat. It's something they're willing to do and something they're able to do. And how do you know you're able to do something? You do it. And so we have batik and tie-dye. We have photography, we have gardening, we have beading, we have body lotion making. And then we also realize, people tell me that all the time, why do you have other people, why do you have these Americans, these British coming in to help? And I say to them, they are not helping, they're serving, and there is a difference. When you serve, you get more out of it than you're actually giving. And remember at the beginning of my talk, I talked about how we need to tell our own stories. So when the girls think about themselves, when we think about ourselves, we don't think about ourselves as poor, because we are not poor. We don't have money, and there's a difference. And so when we interact with people from other cultures, and they come and they find us, and they serve with us, and they accompany us as we solve our own problems, as we watch them see how rich we are as a culture and how rich we are as a people, it reinforces that idea in us. And it helps them and it helps us see ourselves differently from how we're portrayed all around the world as Africans. So if you liked what I said so far and you were like, oh, I'm going to go to Starfish, Starfish is work and it's hard work. And so you're not coming as a tourist, we will be working together. And so look at the pictures in case you didn't believe me in the previous sentence. When you come, you live in the village with us. You eat what we eat, you do what we do, because then you can see us as people and as family, and we can see you as people and as family. And therefore, that boat doesn't go down so easily. So these are some of the things that our volunteers do: co-teaching, blogs, multicultural discussions, Heartlight, which is meditation. After you've walked around and worked really, really hard, you need to center yourself, so we do that. And David is a clinical psychologist, particularly for me, but I will share him with you. You need a clinical psychologist in this work, but I usually share him with the volunteers. A day in the life, you do service projects and you do excursions. But we also have guest speakers, because a lot of what we want to teach cannot be learned just in the classroom. The result is this. So these are the people who run Starfish, and these are the people who I guide. And I've gone through them, and I can tell you, Jane is now in law school. Fatou Ndour is becoming an architect. Rita just got into medical school. Aissatou is in social work, and Fatouai is in development studies. I was taking her exams. May has almost finished with nursing. Rena Moses is in computer science. Jamil is in information systems, and Muhammad is an accountant. And so you look at 9 years before and 9 years later. I could have been here, I could have been waiting for our problems to be solved, or I could have gone back and done something about it and worked with people who can't go back, but who can't be there, but I can be their hands and their feet and their arms and their legs to get this work done. So this is my favorite picture, because these girls have gotten up early in the morning and done their chores. And then they have gone to school all day long. And since we're an after-school enrichment program, they're coming to us after school. And this is down our street, and they're walking down the street, hungry and tired. I know, because I was one of them, and I wore that exact same uniform. And I know that by 3:30 in the afternoon, I was hungry and tired. And they're walking down to the Starfish Street, and we surprised them and took their pictures. And they look that happy. So I like to look at that picture and think we must be doing something right. And these are some of our goals that I have on there: buy the land for the Starfish Academy. It's one of my favorite topics to talk about. When I talk about being under the trees, I also talk about people who come and they build a hut in a village in Africa, and they put wood there as tables and chairs, and they say, guess what I did this summer? I went to Africa and I built a school, and my head explodes. I'm like, you did not build a school in Africa. And when you think about it, the reason my head explodes is because to be excellent, you need to be around excellence. And when you think about a state-of-the academy school here, or a state-of-the-arts academy here, you think about it has a swimming pool, and it has a gym, and it has this, and it has an art program, and all of this, and we call it a state-of-the-art school. But somehow when you pick that up and put it in Africa, people go, why do you need all that money? And why do you need a swimming pool in your school? And there is a disparity there that drives me crazy. So I do want to build a state-of-the-art Academy of Excellence in the Gambia, predominantly serving girls, and then I'll start a boys one as well, where these girls get in there and they do the work, and it's dedicated to humanity, and they come out and they solve some of these problems that we all face. But it also will allow me to get the girls out of the families from Monday through Friday, so they can check out and do the work and then go back into their families on the weekends. And it's almost done. We're almost there. We want to build a skill center, and I came today with a woman who is one of the mothers of 2 of our Starfish girls. I'm going to tell a little bit of her story, but she's here, so I'm not going to say much because we can deal with all of that in the question and answer session. And it is that this woman came to me 4 years into the program and said, I am one of the Starfish mothers. And she said, I want to do for other girls what Starfish has done for my girls. And she said, you know, I was in an early marriage, it became abusive, I got out of the marriage, I had to raise my kids myself, and then the program came in and helped educate my girls, and I want that. And their confidence, their self-esteem, their level of happiness, they sing around the house now. And one is going to be a doctor, and one wants to go into international relations. And I want to do something for other girls. And so I said, okay, no problem, what can you do? And she said, well, because I have had to survive as a single mother and take care of my kids, I've had to use other skills to be able to make money. So along the way, I have learned how to sew, how to do tie-dye, how to do batik, how to do body lotion, how to do gardening, and I said, you are the poster child for the small business program, so why don't you come and run the small business program? But as is typical of Starfish, Starfish is made up of dreams, people's dreams coming true. She came in and then she looked at the program and she was like, why am I doing this? I have my own dreams. What I dream is that girls who never actually had the chance to go to high school should also be helped, not just girls who are at risk of dropping out. So I want to start a skill center that will help those girls who haven't even had an opportunity to go to school. And so it took her 4 years to register a skill center, and this year, in September, she will start a skill center at Starfish for girls who've never had a chance to go to school. So her name is Mama Kujabi. Both of her daughters who started out in Starfish, one of them is now a 6th-year medical school student, and the other one just got a full scholarship to do her undergrads in international relations, Chinese studies, and something else that she's too smart for everything else. But that's what they're doing. So Mama is here, and she brought some of the products from the business center that you can find outside. And so, you know, you think about it, and I said I was 7 months pregnant, I was bald, all I had going for me was I had a clinical psychologist, so when I seemed too crazy, it was like, you're not too crazy, or at least we can handle it together. But out of that, what else did I have that we could start a program and change these lives? And so I had my mom. My mom was the first girl in my village to go to high school. And after she graduated high school, she wanted to go to college, and her parents said, no, you actually went to high school because you were the only child in the family. We lost all your other siblings, and therefore, all of the resources came to you. But you're still a girl, and we are not going to let you go to college. And so she was so frustrated by that she was determined to educate all of her kids. So I still sit on my mom just like that. I become a total baby when I'm around my mom and my dad. And then there's my husband, David, and my brother, Sana. So my grandparents had this property that they divided among the kids. And so I had a quarter of it, my siblings all had a quarter. I've taken over all of their land, and that's what Starfish is made up of. And of course, I didn't have a house when I got to the Gambia, but my brother had built his house, so that's where I live, since he's in the US. So Starfish is really not mine, Starfish is ours. And then there are my children, who continue to wake up and follow me everywhere I need to go to give a speech and do what I need to do. And I always say, God looked at me and said, you need these kinds of kids, you need this kind of partner, you need these kinds of parents and these kinds of siblings. And that's what has allowed me to be able to do the work that I do. So obviously I can talk forever about my work, but this is a glimpse of Starfish, and there are many other people who have experienced Starfish who can talk about it as well. So I'm going to stop and do question and answer. You are allowed to ask any question you want. I'm very comfortable saying I don't want to answer that question if I don't want to answer it, or I don't know the answer. But I want to end with a video from the Starfish girls talking about gratitude. So. Yes.
Hi, my name is Ellen Kujabi. There are so many things and people I'm grateful for, but I would like to talk about one of them. I'm grateful when I'm able to help people in large ways or small ways, especially when it brings a smile on their face. I feel fulfilled and I'm happy that I'm able to do something. So I'm grateful for that.
I'm grateful for the students I have in Starfish International because those students give me purpose in life. They also give me reason to be my best self, and they challenge me to, not give up. And everything I am doing right now, and everything I want to do in the world especially is because I look at these kids and I look at these children and they inspire me to do it and to believe in myself.
I am grateful to God for my life, for being healthy, for being strong, and having the strength every day to serve humanity.
Well, I'm grateful to my cousin that she was able to convince my dad to take me to school. And I have also shown my gratefulness to her so far. I know I am one of her favorite cousins. She loved me very much up to this day. And I'm grateful to my parents also for listening to her and taking her advice of taking me to school.
Hi, I am grateful for Auntie Yassin. She's been there for me from day one. From when I have no one, she stood by me and she made sure that I am okay. She nurtured me and took care of me and made me her own daughter, and I'm really grateful. She taught me to grow and think beyond myself. She taught me to love beyond myself and to serve other people and to always think about other people. I'm also grateful for the fact that she trusts me with everything, and she makes me believe in myself that I can fly higher than the sky and be myself every single time. She taught me to always raise my head up no matter what's going on in my life, because I have a killer smile. Thank you very much, Mom. I love you very much, and thank you for always being there for me.
Hi, my name is Ahmad, and I feel so grateful to know my purpose in life. I know it's not obvious for everybody to know what they want or what's their purpose. So I feel grateful to know mine and to have my goals and dreams, to walk towards them and to live my purpose. So that's one thing I'm really grateful
for. David, what's going on? All right, thank you very, very much.
So we're going to open it up to questions, and it would be really wonderful if folks could speak from the mic. So I have a microphone. We have a microphone on this side as well. And just raise your hand, and we'll come to you. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay.
Mama, what else? Any questions? There's a question over there.
How many girls have you served in the program so far?
Would you mind repeating?
Sure. How many girls have you served in the program so far?
So far this year, about 800 girls. So we've been in we've been with Starfish since 2009, and every year we accept 100 girls, and so they go through the program, and then we interview. Some of them can come back, some of them go on to do other things, but about 900 girls so
I'm obeying the rules. I just was wondering, how long do they stay within the program at Starfish?
So they stay, we accept girls from 13 years old to 18 years old. So they can be there from when they're 13 to when they're 18. However, every year we will interview, not we, they. The girls will interview about 200, 300 students, and we can only commit to sponsoring 100 of them because we do something like this fundraising. I have not been in the Gambia during the winter time in the U.S. I've been there once in 9 years. So I'm freezing normally, but I have to come and fundraise. So we can commit to 100 girls every year. And so, but every year they have to re-interview, because when we interview, that's the most painful part of our job, I think. To see 300 girls come through and want to be a part of the program, and you have to send 200 of them away. Therefore, every year the girls that actually make it have to re-interview for their spot. And if somebody else is hungrier for that opportunity and can use it better than you and will fight for it better, then they get the spot.
Okay, so let me clarify. So they, the girls that are already there, they have to then the 100 that are with you then have to re-interview along with the other 100 that you've chosen, right?
Every year. So if you make it this year and we have a batch of 100, then next year we have 0.
Okay.
And all 100 plus 2 other 100 that come to interview, on interview day you're all equal and you all come through.
Okay.
And there is a panel of 10 girls who have gone through the program and are still in the program who interview all 300. And then they pick the top 100.
And they're included in that 100, I'm
They're
assuming.
included. Yes. So you can be in the program if you keep winning your spot. You can be there from when you're 13 to when you're 18. These are the ones we sponsor. But one of the first things we did was build a library. And so the girls, when they used to come, would bring their siblings. So we actually have a program from 3-year-olds to 12-year-olds who we don't pay their school fees, but they're there. And we give them classes and tutoring and all of that. And we also have an adult education program for people 18 to 45, 50, whatever, who want to learn to read and write and small business skills.
Why the name Starfish?
Why the name Starfish? Okay, so the name Starfish for several reasons. One of them is, so there's a Starfish story. I didn't write it, I didn't come up with it. I love it. And it's the idea that there's a young person on the shore. I've changed it, don't sue me. But now it's a young girl on the shore. And there are all these starfish that have been swept ashore by the waves. I mean, the shoreline is just strewn with starfish. And this girl is picking up individual starfish and throwing them back into the ocean. And an older, more jaded person comes along and says, there are so many starfish on the shore, you can't possibly save all of them. And the girl picks up one starfish and looks up at them and says, but to this one starfish, I can make a difference, and throws it back in the water. And so when I came to the US, I studied sociology and French. Sociology was my first love. And what I wanted to know was, what are other problems affecting women around the world? And what could I do to help? And how does it compare to the problems I grew up around? And it was overwhelming, absolutely overwhelming. You look at the US alone and you have nose jobs and butt implants and liposuction and anorexia and bulimia and rape and molestation and all of that. You look at India and you look at bride burning and you look at foot binding in China. And I was learning about all these things. And it could be quite overwhelming. And so you think about an 18-year-old college student, what can I do in all this? And then when you think about problems in Africa concerning women, people just throw their hands up and give up. And so the idea was, no, we have to look at individual human beings and try to make a difference in their lives. You look at MJ and you look at APSA, and you think, okay, it's Champlain College providing a scholarship or an educational opportunity or two. That in itself is important, and it makes a difference. But then you also think about everybody that's behind them, and what APSA is going to do in this world, and what MJ is going to do in this world. And it makes even more sense, and it doesn't then become so overwhelming. And my favorite example is Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey's grandmother was a laundress. And somebody looked at that black girl and said, she needs an education, I am going to educate her. And then you fast forward 40 years into the future and she's going, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car, right? And that's how it works. But when you invested in that person, if you had just thought, the granddaughter of a laundress, what could she possibly need? Or APSA, why should she come to Vermont and in the snow? And, then you get caught up. But when you think about the Starfish story, and you think about picking one starfish and throwing it in, and making a difference right there, right then, it isn't so overwhelming. And it's not just hopeful, it's real, actually. So that's why it's called Starfish.
Thank you.
Is that a question? Oh no, she knows me.
Mam-Yassin Sarr. Mam-Yassin Sarr, I know you have two wonderful children and your son is a feminist. I'm curious about the boys who are part of Starfish. What are they making a difference in terms of influencing their families to look at girls and see the role in women that can play in Gambian society?
Yes, they can't help themselves. The boys in the program. So we have boys in the program. And the reason it's one of the few girls' education programs with boys in the program, the reason why we have boys in the program is because people usually make a distinction between their education and their culture. It's not unusual for you to have a couple, in this case a heterosexual couple, and then they're both educated. Let's say you have two doctors, right? And then you come home, and then the female doctor then, after a long day together, the male doctor comes in, sits in the living room, and gets a drink and relaxes, and the female doctor's running around, cooking and cleaning and doing this and that and that. And so when I was thinking about change, and the reason why I'm in education and not politics or something else is because I am a very impatient person. And so I want to see change, and I want to see change now. And I think you can see that interwoven all through Starfish, right? And I think education is the fastest way to make effective change. And when you educate the future mothers, or those who want children, then you can have a feminist boy. They don't know any different. Iman at 4 years old would meet other kids and go, I'm a feminist, are you a feminist? And the 4-year-old would be like, would you like a snack? What is the problem? Right? But when you learn it from the breast, then it's not something so unnatural. It's just you clean because you clean. That's what you do, right? It doesn't have anything to do with the boy or girl. So I wanted partners for the Starfish girls. By the time they went into the community, I wanted a cadre of boys who understood and knew how to work with them, so that their efforts were not frustrated, right? So when they walk into an office, when they go into the workplace, they have partners, and they have people who see them as equals and as equal partners. And again, how do you do that? If you know me by now, you know I'm going to say you teach it to them by making them do it. And so the boys in the program, they do everything the girls do. But on top of that, they go into the families with the girls, and they do the girls' chores. You spend a day in the life of a Starfish girl, and you go to their family and you do laundry. And their grandmother freaks out when you first come in. But then by the end of the day, they adore you because they see that. And their brothers don't like you too much because you're breaking all the molds. And tomorrow grandma's going to say, that Starfish boy came in here and swept and he didn't die, so you need to sweep yourself, right? So going into the families and doing that. But when it comes to other things like violence against women, you need true allies. So for Valentine's Day, 2 years ago, we had the boys go to the main road and look at the women that were selling the least of things, like mangoes and things like that, and give them each a rose and have a conversation about violence against women and make a commitment to fight against violence against women. So when that boy walks up to you, gives you a rose and says, I am dedicating my life to working towards protecting people like you, it does two things. It does something for that boy, and they never forget that they made that commitment, but it gives you hope as well, that the young men within your community are doing these kinds of things. So these are the kinds of activities the Starfish Boys do. We don't pay for the scholarships of the Starfish Boys, because we know that their parents will pay for that. But when a boy stands in front of the parents and says, I would rather this girl had my scholarship than I do, because I'm in a position of privilege compared to them, it is a very powerful thing in bringing the community together to support us, because they see that the boys themselves are fighting. And the example that we gave the boys coming into the program was this. If you have a very educated boy, he knows everything there is to know about maternal health, but his wife doesn't. She's not educated. And so the boy knows that you can read to the baby well before the baby is born into this world, and it does something for their development. The boy still cannot follow the wife around and read to the baby, right? If the boy knows that you need proteins, you can have an egg. And the girl believes through cultural misconceptions that if they eat eggs, the baby will be too big for them to give birth to. The boy still cannot force feed that egg to that female. So easily they can see that within our families, if we invest in girls, we're investing in boys as well. And that's the job of the Starfish Boys, to be a living example of what is possible for gender equity. Yeah, and to harass them as well. We have a lot of fun with them, so it's good. And we're hoping this year that they will start going to schools and engaging other boys, that the boys group will go to other schools and talk to other boys and others. And we have men in the community who live those examples come and run the boys group. So it's different when I tell a boy, a Starfish boy, how to be the kind of man I hope he is. It's different from when David tells them, and when a Gambian man says, I sweep my house and everything is okay. Okay, any more questions? If you have questions for Mama Kujabi and for David and for Biana who's been to the Gambia and other Gambians over there, be careful what you ask my children, because they know too much about me. But we have many other people who have experienced Starfish, who are engaged in this work and who hold me on their shoulders. That can answer the question. Other questions? So you're all invited to the Gambia, let me say that. And if you cannot come, I am terrible at fundraising. So if you want to do fundraisers, if you want to Skype with the girls, if you want to help in any way, serve in any way, we have a website. And our biggest websites are the Gambian girls who are already here and putting the pressure on. If you want to see what your investment will engender, there are examples on your campus already. And I hope you create more opportunities for Gambian girls and Starfish girls to come here. And when I say more opportunities, I don't just mean a scholarship. I mean when they come, because they will not any longer be in the majority, that you invite them into your homes and your circles and make them part of your community. Because that's really the only way we can change the world, is when we see each other as family. So we would have fewer stereotypes of Americans when we are in American homes and American families and circles and discussions. And you will have fewer stereotypes of us when you live with us and eat with us and work with us. So next time I come, there will be Starfish girls and they'll be running things and I'll just be visiting and looking. But you're also welcome to the Gambia, especially at this time. There's beautiful sunshine. And I'm really sorry I'm not there.
So a big thank you to Mam-Yassin and a couple of words to
Sure.
leave you with?
I'm Dr. Bjarne Holmes. I run the psychology program here. All I wanted to say is thank you so much. Thank you for everybody who come today and everybody that has helped us organize. If you were touched by this in any way, there's a webpage, Starfish International. Just search for that. If you want to donate, it's easy to do. We have already raised $1,000 that we will donate from various groups across the college. So I will say that. Also, a challenge. So that's a challenge. Go look at the webpage. There's your first challenge. The second challenge, as you walk out of here, there is a table outside with absolutely beautiful handmade products that are for sale. And I think you should walk out and be there while everybody walks out. My challenge is for you to stop and have a look. So, thanks for coming, everybody.